We're good to go. We're smooth 98.1 FM. Good morning and welcome to Freshly Pressed for the 21st day of August 2023. I've got Mr. C here joining me. Good morning, Mr. C.
Good morning, Mas. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Oye.
And I've got AB Bozimo also joining us all the way from Port Harcourt this morning. Good morning, AB.
Hi, good morning, Mas, Mr. C, and all of our wonderful listeners.
All right, AB, before we get on into the show, we understand that we appreciate your sacrifice this morning. We understand you're bereaved at the moment of your mom, but we thank you for still seeing that the national project, Nigeria Must Go On, and you have a responsibility to come on the show this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. She would have expected me not to drop whatever I'm doing, as she had a large footprint. I hope we can live up to her expectations.
Thoughts and prayers with your family this morning and always. So let's get to Mr. C this morning to help us get this papers started. The Vanguard newspaper is our first port of call this morning, and it screams with a headline, the National Association of Parents Teachers Association of Nigeria, then the National Association of Nigerian Students and ASUP advise new education ministers. Yeah, that's just what it's saying. So that's their stakeholders in the education sector. So what exactly could it be at this time? On the morning, these gentlemen and women should be getting sworn in. You are advising a man on the days embarking on a journey. And if hindsight serves me right, it is far easier to advise a man on his way back from a journey than when he starts a journey. Mr. C, anyway, walk us through the story in 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much, Mas. So as you rightly pointed out, the ministers will be sworn in today. And some advice has been given to the Minister for Education and the Minister of State for Education. And they've been tasked with not following the ways the predecessors took. Now, it's an open secret that there's a lot of work to be done in the education sector, starting from basic education, which is primary school, up to secondary school, and I guess up to tertiary education. Now, these problems range from the lack of funding to the lack of proper infrastructure to a lack of inadequate policy formulation and a seeming near absence of any clear thought out plan to ensure that teachers who retire are adequately replaced. Now, for me, I would say the most pressing problem is funding. Almost everyone who is inside government and outside government knows what to do in the education sector. It boils down to funding. Now, funding in the sense that the universities require much more money to upgrade the content of the syllabuses, of the syllabi, upgrade their infrastructure and equipment, especially where then the sciences or the engineering disciplines. They need to keep abreast of modern developments. They also need to be in a position to attract the cream of the crop, not people who have nothing else to do and venture into teaching. At the basic level, we have the clear and present problem of out-of-school children. And it is no secret that they're out of school due to the economic situation the country finds itself in. Families are truly, truly struggling to survive. You then tell them the children have to be in school, and they're looking at you and they're asking, how is that going to happen? So you find children hawking all sorts of goods and services, all sorts of goods and foodstuffs during the day when they should be in school. Now, beyond that, there's also the problem of insecurity in certain parts of the country, especially the northeast and northwestern corridors. Students are afraid to go to school because armed terrorists will attack those schools and take them into forced captivity, and some never return, even when huge sums of money are paid as ransoms. Then we get to the bridge between secondary school and university. Millions of Nigerian students finish secondary school each year. For the universities, all of them combined, I think we have about 250 universities in Nigeria today, which is ridiculous, but that's another story. They cannot absorb 20% of the total number of students that leave secondary school each year. Now you then have a problem. Where are the rest going? Even the polytechnics can't do it. So there has to be a clear thought plan. Now, this dichotomy between the higher national diploma and the degree has to be resolved once and for all. A suggestion was put that the HND should be transformed or converted into a bachelor of technology degree. You can retain the OND, which is the ordinary national diploma, as a diploma. Now, beyond all of this, teachers, lecturers have to be paid properly. They have to be paid a living wage, because if you do not pay them a living wage, ultimately students will suffer, and beyond that, the country will suffer. Education, health, and security are areas any country should not play with. And if we truly want to develop and say by 2050, we're the top African nation, probably one of the top 10, top 15 economies in the world, we need to start the work now. But the bigger issue remains, the elephant in the room remains the problem of funding. Education has never gotten 50% of the budget. That has to stop.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. C. Well said. You built the foundation already. I guess AB would want to chime in here. AB, quickly, in just a minute.
Very briefly, it's the problem, while it is money, it's a matter of priority. Because we hear records of monies being spent on things that I personally think are a waste of national resources. There are stories today about what ministers are going to get over the next 4 years and all that. We don't seem to put that same priority into education. So if we can reprioritize and understand that everybody stands to gain if the education sector is improved, then we might have some progress.
That makes me want to go to the listener this morning to let them know that they can be part of this conversation, responding to any of the headlines as we get along this morning on Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1 FM, on the phone line 0809-444-0981. The number once again, 0809-444-0981, WhatsApp messages only. AB, this Daily Post is for you this morning, and it comes with a headline: Buhari expresses anguish as bandit kill 4 soldiers in Niger State. Well, one who has always been shocked, one only sees the change in the term anguish, shock for anguish right now. So, but it's all yours to walk us through this in 2 minutes.
Shocked, anguished, and by popular demand, unaware. Anyway, the issue is every Nigerian of goodwill is totally depressed to hear that our gallant, trained soldiers and security staff have lost their lives needlessly. The president, former president who's expressing this anguish, had 8 years to do the job and failed to actually terminate these terrorists. I do not accept the word bandits. Anybody who kills my soldiers is a terrorist and should be treated as such. He's expressing it. I just have one thing to say. So what? He had a chance to make these soldiers' lives, to preserve them, but it was focused on who knows what else, and he has left office. So it is, frankly, to me, utterly, completely, and totally irrelevant what he feels about it. He didn't do what he should have done while he was there. Next story.
Next story, Daily Trust comes on to Mr. C this morning, and he says, the NLC, that's the Nigerian Labour Congress, kicks against federal government's palliative, says cup of rice, 2,000 naira, not enough. That's according to the Daily Trust newspaper. Mr. C, would you walk us through this paper in 2 minutes also?
Okay, thank you. So we seem to be going from bad to worse, or even I would dare say from worse to the worst. Initially, it was proposed that they would give about 8,000 naira to Nigerian, economically vulnerable Nigerians over a period of time, each month for I think 6 months. When that plan was roundly criticized, it was jettisoned. One would think that if that plan was jettisoned, a better plan would be put in place. Now, federal government has indicated it's going to give 5 billion naira to each state and the FCT. That comes to about 185 billion. Now, take the sum of 5 billion for Lagos State. Pick either a million individuals or a million households. That comes to 5,000 naira. For the love of everything good, what exactly is an individual or even a household supposed to do with 5,000 naira each month? I cannot even begin to think of who came up with this brain. And I think it's time we start to name the people behind this thought so we can set up a hall of fame for them and put them in there. This is truly, truly ridiculous. It's insulting. It's annoying. 5,000 naira will not do anything for anyone. Now, Labour has even done some sort of computation. They say a cup of rice and 2,000 naira. A cup of rice will not feed anyone decently. So what exactly are you supposedly alleviating? The members of the National Assembly first got 70 billion, told all sorts of stories. Then the president, their Senate president, confirmed they had gotten holiday allowances. The question remains, what quantum of work did they do before getting that sort of money?
I mean, you mean to say office, that was office running costs. That was what was said.
No, that's the office. No, so it begs the question, when you say office running costs, there's a National Assembly Service Commission. They are tasked with maintaining the facilities. So did the outgoing members of the National Assembly completely remove the equipment and the furniture they use? But that's another story. The truth of the matter is 5,000 naira, 8,000 naira, 10,000 naira is truly ridiculous. It doesn't scratch the surface. This administration needs to go back to the drawing table. Attract the best minds from the private sector, come up with a more concrete plan that beyond the near term, and I dare say even into the midterm, will be of much more benefit to the average Nigerian. They should stop this nonsense of 5,000 naira, 5 billion naira a month. It's not going to do anything.
Now, Abi, I'll come to you, and I'd like you to also, yes, I'm coming straight to you with this also, still responding to this 2 cups, a cup of rice, 2,000 naira, not enough. Is it really the amount or the spirit, the intention that we should even look at least the government is thinking in this point? Because you can't really solve all of this problem. If you pack all of the money in the central bank, how much are you going to give out in the first place? Like a friend once advised during the COVID era, he said, look, in all of this queue and people piling up to collect all of this palliative, please don't be unfortunate. If you know you don't need it, don't go there. But anyway, maybe let's hear your thoughts.
Now, let me tell you the biggest issue for me is in recent times, I have been seeing very horrible videos of Nigerians being treated in a most undignified manner, where people are throwing bags of this and cups of that at them. That is the spirit we're talking about. You won't hear about that kind of spirit in those hallowed halls of Senate, National Assembly, but for ordinary Nigerians, some people who, frankly, I personally feel are completely out of their depth, feel the solution is to gather people in a place behind a lorry and start throwing things at them. Please preserve the dignity of Nigerians. We all are supposed to have NIN. If there's ever a time to get NIN and maybe translate it to BVN, maybe this is the time so that people can directly get succor, not be treated like refugees inside our own country. It is unacceptable, and like Mr. C said, it is insulting.
That leads me also expecting the messages to come in this morning on the platform. Just WhatsApp messages only on 0809-444-0981. Let's hear your thoughts on the headlines we're treating from the local dailies. I see some messages here. Let's see if we just would get 1 or 2 in before the raining like avalanche, and then let's see. Okay. I've got a message from Gilbert who says, good morning, Musa from Festac. My sincere condolences to Ebi Bozimo. May the peaceful soul of your mother rest in peace. That's for you. But let's get into this one.
Thanks so much.
Darwin comes in here with a message. Where's Darwin's message? Okay, we'll come back to Darwin's message. It's still related to you also, Ebi. But let's see. Hi, Smooth FM, freshly pressed. With all sincerity, Nigeria need to adopt a new constitution, just like Rwanda in 2000, Switzerland in 2008, and Peru in 2016. For us as a nation to move forward and gain the added budget revenue of 25% to education, and we remove state or region of origin, but just Nigerians, when you educate a people, it is much easier to lead them with great vision and give them education. It is accrued value in a country. Benito dropped that one for us this morning. I've got Ajayi Olonilua from Magodo GRA. Sherry says, good morning. The problem of our education, reacting to that story, the advice for those who are coming in very soon, like in every other sector, is the overwhelming bearing of the federal government in running our schools, especially at the secondary and tertiary levels. The advice being given to the incoming ministers have been given to their predecessors without any positive results. The government must reorganize the sector to allow communities run their schools like it is done in developed countries. Ajayi Olonilua dropped that one for us. And you see what we are talking about, that I mentioned, like it is easy to advise a man. After this advice have been given to their predecessors before. It's when they are coming back, you now say, you cannot advise a man. But AB, the nation is waiting for you with this headline. CIBN, that's the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, supports Tinubu on exchange rate unification. Run with this story.
Definitely. I mean, the situation prior to now, where there was massive arbitrage, where somebody could sit down somewhere, make a call to the CBN, get allocated any amount of dollars, sitting in that same chair, make a call and sell it at great profits without adding a single value to the national interest, was intolerable. So the policy has merit. I've said it before. Some of these policies are long overdue and they have merit. The question is context. It's one thing to unify the rate. It's also another thing to analyze the effect it has. There are ways to go about any operation. It's important when doing an operation, medical people will tell us, certain operations, you need anesthetic. You want a man's leg has gangrene. He needs to have it amputated. It's not right to go there with a chainsaw and cut it off. You do need to give him anesthetic. So it is this anesthetic or some of these ways to go about modifying the impact. Now, everything has shut up because for now, we have remained largely an import-dependent economy. It is important, before doing 185 billion and giving people 2,000 bags of rice, how about you put that money either into the refineries or into the electricity sector or both, so that people can be more productive at a lesser cost. Then when we're productive, we have more things to, offer the world. I said this another day. It's one thing to talk about open market, have an effect. But in the market, there are three players. There's the buyer, there's the seller, and the person who the load is put on their head. At the moment, Nigeria is just a load carrier. Nigerians are carrying the load of years of mismanaged economy. You can't just come, make these policies without simultaneously putting in place ways to help those whose product. Look, we talked about big name companies who are now leaving the country. It's not today. They have been doing it in drips and drabs, but when we had that big name pharmaceutical company recently, that was a problem. And I understand some others. Most of the blue chip companies declared losses this year. It's not good for Nigeria's economy. So a good policy must be executed with skill and insight. That, I think, is what is missing right now in Nigeria.
But
Skill and insight.
Maybe at this time, it will seem like it is the patience and willingness for Nigerians to wait for policies to run right now that is missing in this case because of past experience. Because what would this government really do? Everything they do, it seems not to be right before some persons. So what exactly do you want from them? IMF had applauded them for this unification, and then the other things were supposed to follow.
So what I would like them to do is focus on the realities and optics. For instance, do not give yourself 70 billion and 40 billion for bulletproof cars. That is one step you could take to show me that you are willing to share in my pain. It's optics.
So, very quickly, they haven't unified anything. What they have done is to manage fruit because they are still intervening in the forex market because of the continuing depreciation and the value of the naira vis-a-vis the US dollar greenback. Now, that recent $3 billion facilities they took is specifically to intervene in the foreign exchange market. So we're not there yet. Okay. And then when you say Nigerians do not want to wait, you don't wait for an eternity. You have to be given some sort of idea how long the wait should be.
Okay. Well, thank you.
In any project, you need to show us milestones that we can look forward to. You can't just make an announcement with no interior context and expect people to just be patient. It's 64 odd years now, almost.
Thank you very much, AB and Mr. C, for your interventions at this moment. But Mr. C, this would call for your intervention greatly, and we hope you will be impartial in this one and speak to it and go to the eye of this matter. Hit the bull's eye in this one. As we grab a copy of the Punch newspaper, screaming, Unical Dean, Adamawa Rec, who are your professional alumni or alumnus, if you choose to, are under probe for misconduct, so says the Nigerian Bar Association. Mr. C, what are you doing about all of these malfeasance that once in a while crops up in this respectable profession of yours?
Okay, so thank you, Mas. It's not what I should do personally. Now, 3 individuals have been reported to the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee for various acts of alleged misconduct. Now, the Unical Dean is the Dean of the Faculty of Law, University of Calabar. Now, in 2015, he was accused of a sexual offense against the students. He was suspended at that point in time. His appointment wasn't terminated. It's still uncertain why he wasn't taken before the ACPC and properly charged. Fast forward a number of years, he's not only back, he's now the dean. And again, a fresh set of allegations against the same man and the same nature of the previous allegations. And now the University of Calabar has suspended him again. Now the question.
No, please, what's the nature of this offense for those who don't even understand what it is about?
No, so the sexual offense, the students allege that he's been sexually harassing them for grades, for ensuring that they pass the exams. And then the male students have said that they continue to suffer because they're not physically endowed like their female counterparts. Now, this is the crux of the matter. In a university, it's not just your brilliance or your knowledge that is paramount. Your integrity and character is also a key component. It's also required, both for the students and lecturers. Now, there should be a clear demarcation between the lecturer and the student because of the power dynamic. So he cannot even begin to suggest that it's consensual or they're not. It can never be that way. If you want to date the student or you want to marry the student, then you have to resign from that position, or you wait until the student graduates and is no longer a student, then you can then explore whatever feelings you have towards a person. Now he's accused of having breached his duty of care towards the students. And again, he's been suspended. Now, the bigger question is this. He says it's his rivals who have stirred this up. In all of this, he hasn't said it's not true.
Okay, so walk us to UNUSA because of time. Walk us to UNUSA and Ifunanya grant.
I think in the case of UNUSA, I think this petition is premature because the Election Petition Tribunal is still ongoing. A judgment has not been delivered. For all we know, let me paint a scenario where the tribunal there says he didn't do anything wrong. This petition is still on arrival. So let's await the decision of the Election Petition Tribunal in Adamawa State before we proceed with this. Then there's a third lawyer who has...
before you go into that, Ifunanya, why should the NBA be worried about a marijuana smoking who choose to, that's what she chooses to do with her legal qualification?
No. So first of all, it is still a crime to possess or use marijuana in Nigeria. Two, even if you're going to do it in the privacy of your home or wherever. When you put it out consistently on social media, and then you allude to the fact that you're a Nigerian lawyer, you're bringing the entire profession into disrepute. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Mr. C. I go to AB this morning. AB, the next paper for you, Daily Trust newspaper, Shetima attacks political leaders on unity. If you can do this for us in a minute, we'll be happy.
Who said they're not united? Whenever they announce that they're getting allowances, you don't hear one dissenting voice. Whenever they're going to give themselves prayers in their email boxes, nobody says, hey, we need to really look at this. Nigerians are going through a lot. So telling me that they're casting them on unity, my perspective, they are highly united in ignoring the optics of their position, their remuneration vis-a-vis the lives of ordinary Nigerians. And what stuns me is that this whole conversation was being done at a forum where they were celebrating the appointment and accomplishments of the SGF, Senator George Akume. I'm having to ask myself, is it in the context of this brand new appointment or over his life? Because in 2-3 months, you were in the third month or so, I don't know what specifically he might be said to have done that merits an entire, song and dance. But politicians are united, in my view, against ordinary Nigerians. My view only.
Let's see. With the time we've got now, let's go to the messages. I see the very interesting ones responding to all of the headlines this morning. Yinka Bolu comes up and said, Mr. C, they proposed 8K. We said, nee. 5 billion naira plus trucks of rice for states. You said it is insulting. What should they do? Please, we need solutions at this point. The problem is that we see everything through the Lagos lens. 8K or 5K for someone is in Saki or your state is a big deal. AB condolences. Moving on.
It's not. So what they could do, health insurance, minimize or reduce the cost of transportation, because what are some of the major expenses? Transportation, healthcare, even foodstuffs, trying to arrange for foodstuffs to get to the central market areas, and they need to improve the road infrastructure from the farms into the centers where the food will be sold. Everything is not about doling out money. And this cash they want to give, the people who should receive the money, do they not have bank accounts?
Okay, next comes because when we remember the optics of the humanitarian affairs minister in last regime with 20K doling out, it wasn't a nice optics in the last administration from that building to that point. But Adewale says, why not use the money to fix refineries? That's what he says. In comes Jane. Jane Ishe says, good morning, guys. If you ask me, all these palliative, aka 5 billion for themselves, this system has never been transparent. They should focus on multiple taxations and citizens being harassed by government agencies. Saudis using $1 trillion to build a whole smart city. What have we done with our wealth we've had? As AB would ask, do we sell granite oil and then others sell crude oil? But then that's a question for another day, AB. At this time, I don't want to tickle you this morning too much. I understand what it is right now for you. Benjamin comes up. Benjamin Diamond says the president is tactically sharing money to the governor. He has shared to the senators and the National Assembly. The next people are the governors. This money sent to governors in the name of palliative will never be shared to anybody. He's just trying. Well, it goes on. That's according. That's the view of Benjamin Diamond, not ours. And Cisco Delgado comes up for me this morning. I don't know why. It says, oh, it deleted that one already. Why did you do that, Cisco? Anyway, good morning, Omatseye. A steady electricity will fix productivity in Nigeria at least 80%. Cisco Delgado comes up with that. I've seen all of the messages. Yeah. So that's the size of Freshly Pressed this morning, guys. AB, once again, we thank you for your time and the sacrifice. Condolences once again to your family, the Bozimo family. All the best, and may you be strong.
Thank you very much. I deeply appreciate everyone's kind thoughts and sentiments at this time.
And I also say thank you to Mr. C, who's always here and looking dapper, looking like he has a court case to attend this morning.
Thank you for that.
All right, it's Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1 FM. My name is Omatseye Atsenuwa. Good morning. Bye.